Welcome back to Royals Review. As ever, I'm your host, Dan Worth, and joined by Jimmy Boy. You join us on the back of Reading's first defeat of the season, an away trip to Wrexham, which didn't go as well as some of us had hoped, and ending in 3-0 defeat. I'm not necessarily here to be negative, but a 3-0 defeat is not ideal, Jim. Any thoughts on the game or any positive spins you can put on it?
I think the only positive spin really is the fact that I wouldn't say we play. I mean, I know we lost 3-0, but I wouldn't say we played particularly bad. Wrexham just took their chances. I don't want to, put everything onto the ref and that, but just take a look at the highlights and you'll be able to see that there were a lot of issues that Reading fans may have with some of the decisions that the ref made in that game. But yeah, look, I'm not gonna sit here and just say, oh yeah, well it was all the ref. We lost 3-0. Got to do better. But yeah, I wouldn't be having a meltdown at this point of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to be honest, we've discussed it a few times on this pod already, with Reading's current squad and with the lack of depth, we can only expect these results here and there. No matter how positive we are in other games and getting wins under our belt, we aren't going to win every game. And in fact, even if we strengthen, we're not going to win every game. And on that note, Wrexham away is one of the hardest away days. And I'd say with Wrexham done now and Birmingham done, I mean, there are obviously plenty of other tough away days to do, but they're right up there in terms of difficulty. So,
Exactly.
I don't want to be too negative at all about it.
No, I mean, I think you're totally right. We've got a tough start to the season. I thought we deserved 3 points at Birmingham, arguably the hardest fixture of the season. Got 3 points against Wigan, and it's unfortunate that we didn't pick up any sort of result at Wrexham. But that they're coming off the back of back-to-back promotions. Everything that's going on at their club is just positive, really. They're full of confidence. Obviously got the ability to spend a bit of money as well. So yeah, even though they have just been promoted, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a fixture that we should go out and walk across just because of that. They're definitely one of the better sides in the division. And yeah, I guess that sort of just showed in the last match.
Yeah, I agree. I've just pulled up the stats from whoscored.com. And if you cover the score, which I'm actually doing by accident here, looking at the stats, you honestly probably wouldn't be able to tell me who won. Reading were quite comfortable in possession. They had 67.5% possession against Wrexham's 32.5%. So had most of the ball. Were way more successful and effective with their passes, with 88% pass accuracy. More dribbles, more shots. It's just the scoring part. Is actually Sam Smith's worst performance of the season, by the WhoScored.com rating. I don't really think we even need to really go into why that is. Getting booked doesn't help, and not scoring definitely doesn't help. But yeah, I don't think it's one we need to brush over, really. To be honest, don't see any use in looking at it and questioning too deeply as to the reasons why it happened.
No, I think the main sort of takeout, as you've sort of alluded to, is the fact that the squad that we have, it's decent. We've got some really good players, but can they be expected to go out and perform week in, week out for the whole season? No, and these results are gonna pop up here and there, especially with Smith. I'm not surprised that that's one of his worst performing games, especially with Kelvin playing out on the wing now. There really isn't, too much cover for Smith. We've got Wareham, who's just breaking through into the team. That is the backup for Smith. If Smith gets injured, are we going to sort of rely on Wareham to produce what Smith produced for us last season? I think that would be really unfair on him.
Yeah, I agree. And I didn't go to the Wrexham game, as we covered off previously, but the games I have been to this season, Smith seems to be playing a lot deeper than I kind of imagined. I'm looking at his heat map here as well, and yeah, well, didn't have many touches at all really. He's had 19 touches against Wrexham, and I think 2 of them look like they're in the box.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the others are like, well, in our own half, in the centre circle, or right out on the right wing. So, yeah, it just hammers home the need for reinforcements, really, because as we've again already covered off, I love Smith to bits. I think he's awesome. He's a perfect striker, in my opinion, at this level.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we're not giving him what he needs, or playing in a slightly different role, and it's not worked against Wrexham. But as I say, I think best we just gloss over it. Best for the referee too, because shocker, but it's just typical League One standard officiating. So again, no need to dwell. Um, I wanted to bring it to a positive note, but we pushed this back so that it could potentially be. But on Wednesday at 8:30, the 28th of August, still no news on the takeover, despite Rob Couhig and co being at the SCL for the last game against Wickham. No further details, and it appears to be some difficulties um, with terms or something in relation to the car park, which to me sounds absolutely ridiculous because if you're Rob Coe, you're not going out in front of the fans, surely, if you've not, or if you have no idea what the deal is with the car park. It just sounds crazy, but I guess just another day as a Reading fan. I don't really know what I'm asking you here, Jim, to be honest, but can you provide any positivity on the takeover news or just anything at all?
To be honest, all of my positivity in terms of the takeover is just constantly stamped out. Whenever there's some vaguely positive news, it always ends negatively. So yeah, I don't think I'll be able to add anything positively. But yeah, it does seem strange how something which you would think is so minor. I don't really know what percentage of the car park and that area of land Dye owns. I think I read somewhere that it's 25%. The rest is owned by the ties. So yeah, I really don't know what's going on there. I don't really think anyone's got a clue, which is why there's so much
Yeah.
complete radio silence. It's just another thing in like a much bigger issue, which has been going on for well over a year now. And that is just the lack of communication and transparency from the club. I think that's something that Coig has to, if he does end up coming in, has to take seriously and has to change from the start. I think it's the thing that fans will notice first, and are sort of in dire need of. I mean, no one's got a clue what's going on, and when you just take a quick scroll through Twitter, it looks like the takeover might be like collapsing or it's just calamity, which probably is far from the truth. So yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that there is some sort of news, whether it's from the club, whether it's from one of the journalists. As long as it's not from that Huang Cad guy,
Yeah.
I'm all open to the news.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute idiot. I agree, mate. I was going to say I'm sick of it at this point, but I think I was sick of it like a full season ago. So it's kind of way beyond that now. Just want
You
it
know,
to be
yeah.
done.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like one of the key deadlines, I guess, not really a hard deadline, but is the transfer deadline day, which is what, Friday, two days.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is a
just
huge worry because a lot of the negative that we've talked about on this show could all be solved by some reinforcements, whether or not they're free transfers or loans. Like they will go a long way into ensuring that this season is a successful one for the Royals. And I'd argue we kind of need that sorted. I think I read somewhere that the EFL were happy to let us sign someone to replace Aziz. Well, when I say sign, get someone in on a free to replace Aziz, but that would be it until a takeover is announced. So, yeah,
yeah,
pretty bleak. Particularly as you and I talked about some options last week that come in. Maybe we jinxed it. But yeah, really want it done before that ends because yeah, we both spent a little bit of time talking about who we could get in, and there are rumours that's the positive thing. There are rumours of players that are in line to join Reading, but it looks to be a bit of a stalemate until that takeover's done.
yeah. It's a weird one. It's so weird, and I mean, part of me, I'm trying to like, I really want to just look down at my phone and see a notification from Reading saying that they've, it's that post that everyone's been waiting for. I feel like it's kind of like buying a house or trying to rent a house or whatever. Like it's so much stress, and then as soon as it's completed, then it's all over, and no one sort of thinks about what happened previously. But until that's done, it's chaos. Yeah, look, I'm just waiting to look down at my phone and see that notification from Reading saying that the takeover is complete, as is everyone else. But yeah, until that point, it's chaos. And yeah, I don't really think any signings are going to come in until the takeover is done. I know they were speaking about one person potentially coming in, a winger from Sunderland, or was it Kem Campbell from Wolves?
Yeah.
But yeah, until a takeover is done, I can't see anything happening. Like you just mentioned, we've got just over 2 days and a few hours until the loan transfer window closes. So yeah, unless we hear some news in the next few hours, I can't really see that getting over the line.
Yeah, no, I agree. I heard you likening the relief or how you think the relief will feel to when you move into a flat or a house, and it's all sorted. And I'm pretty sure that the times where you've moved into a flat or I've moved into a flat, we've celebrated every time with a massive takeaway. So I guess we just have to pencil in a massive takeaway for next week at some point. We can share the pictures.
I'm
It
down.
won't take
I'm
much
down.
convincing to a big takeaway.
If you're paying, I'm down.
Well, maybe Rob Curry can help us out after all the stress he's. Well, I mean, it's not really him that's caused the stress, I suppose, but yeah. So hopefully we have that to look forward to to this week. Sorry, but we do obviously have Charlton on the horizon, so that's on deadline day, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, and getting my dates mixed up. Yeah, sorry, it's Saturday. It's deadline
Saturday,
day.
so
So it'll be very interesting to see if there are any prospects in the crowd. Some of the names that you mentioned, maybe they'll come along and be in the crowd. So that might give us a bit more of an indication if anyone's signing or if things are moving in the background. But all I can really say is I hope it just gets bloody sorted, because it's been a right pain. Let's move on then. It's going to be quite a short section, but something that I wanted to implement was a bit of a question and answer session. It's probably because I posted super late before recording, but I asked guys on Twitter X for any questions, and Alistair came in with one. He has said, or they have said, now it looks like we won't be able to sign many, if any. If we get the takeover done after the window, who out of the free agents would you sign? I know there was a bit of a free agent PFA team that played this week, which included a few ex-Reading players and Nesta Guinness-Walker and Michael Hector. I'll let you go, Jim, and then I can give some thoughts.
Yeah. Firstly, shout out Alistair. The only question submitted when this podcast is getting millions of views, we'll remember you as the true fan.
For sure.
The first question submitter. Okay, so he said Hector, Brown, and Gale, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, from that team, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say any particularly exciting signings, but given the situation, I don't think we can be picky. And you've got to appreciate the fact that these guys are grafting for a contract. They're clearly up for a challenge even at that point of their career. So yeah, I took a look at the PFA team, and I'd agree with your three choices: Hector, Brown, and Gale. To me, they're the standouts. All of them have got League One experience and last season, to me, they've had seasons which I'd sort of deem successful in terms of looking ahead at how they'd likely be utilised at Reading. So, Hector, as you know, Charlton regular, solid cover for Mbenge. He's much taller, much more experienced. Look at Wrexham's first goal from last week, and you'll see just if they've got a big forward, he almost looks twice the size of Mbenge. And Craig, if he's playing at right back as well, again, not particularly tall. It's a very short part of the defence. And I mean, defensive back lines are arguably usually the sort of tallest parts of the pitch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Hector would be a decent addition. Obviously knows the club. So yeah, a bit of a full circle moment for him maybe. Marcus Brown, one of the younger players that are in that squad. He's 26, so he's just entering his prime really. Again, decent cover for Nibs, who's obviously out injured, and can play on the wing as well, which is obviously a position which we're in desperate need for. And then Dwight Gale, again, a player who'd be here primarily as cover for Smith, and he's shown he can cut it at this level with Derby last season. I know he didn't play too much, but I'm pretty sure he had a pretty good goal to game.
Yeah, 3 goals in 5 games, or 3 goals in 5 starts. Sorry, 6 games.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if there's a player that can produce that available on a free, who's not been picked up yet, and is likely going to be cover, I don't see why you'd turn down the option, if it even is an option. This is all just speculation still.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there were a couple of free agents that I mentioned in last week's pod. TJ Ayoma, who is a centre half, who played at Lincoln last season. He's still available, and obviously Fred Onyedinma, who I think would probably be my number one sort of realistic signing. Who again is also available on free. So yeah, I'd take those two, but out of the PFA squad that played against Cambridge or whoever it was, I think it'd be Hector, Brown and Gale. Not ideal. Probably better loan options, but there's 2 players there who've also played at the highest level. Gale in the Prem, Hector, with his stint over at Eintracht Frankfurt. It wouldn't be a terrible idea having those sorts of characters around the club. There's not really that much experience, and I wouldn't say that some of the more experienced players are particularly ones that you'd look up to. Not mentioning any names.
Yeah, I'll leave that for the cryptics to work out. I thought you were going to say then when Michael Hector's played at the highest level, you were just going to say Reading, and I was going to fully agree with you. I was actually surprised. I thought Michael Hector was much older than he is. So sorry, Hector. I didn't mean that, but 32, plenty of life left.
I mean, I think last season he was also a name that was being rumoured to return, but I think he ended up signing another year's contract at Charlton. So plenty of life left in him in terms of his football career, and I think he'd fit in quite well.
I agree. Played 34 games for Charlton last season, which shows that he's got the fitness level for it. I always really liked Michael Hector when he was at Reading. I was a big fan of him. There's the time when me and you bumped into him in the casino, and he was quite a nice bloke. So come back to us, Michael. You'll be more than welcome.
For those of you who don't know, Dan DM'd Michael Hector on his 21st birthday or something, asking him to come to the casino, and we actually bumped into him at the casino that night. He wasn't there for Dan's birthday, but it was a pretty
I'd like to think he
good
was.
moment, wasn't it?
Huh? Yeah, I like to think he was. Him and Ola John, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
I think they might have had a bigger betting bank than I did on that night, but I can't confirm nor deny. Before we go, then, I'm quickly just going to ask you your score prediction for Charlton, because I know we won't get a chance to speak before that kicks off. You fancying a Reading win?
I really don't know. I think I'm going to just play it safe, go for a 1-1 draw. I don't know. I always find when there's a lot of negativity amongst fans, that kind of sort of washes over onto the pitch slightly.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of confidence going into the Wrexham match compared to the other 2 games. Even against Birmingham, I think people were pretty confident. Charlton, you know, they've got off to a really good start. Decent manager. You know, arguably one of the best, if not the best manager in the league, given his previous jobs and his record and experience. And they're making signings pretty much every day, aren't they? So yeah, it's going to be another tough one. If we can get 3 points, you know, it would be a fantastic start to the season given the situation. But much like the Birmingham game, I'd be happy with a draw.
Yeah, no, I agree. Charlton, as you say, have obviously got off to a flying start with 3 wins from 3 in the league. I'm a huge Nathan Jones fan, so I definitely don't disagree with your best manager in the league shout. Obviously, that's aside from Ruben Selles. So second best
100%.
manager in the league. I think Reading will get the win back in front of the home crowd. I don't see it being an overwhelming victory. I think it might even be a 1-0 to Reading, which would obviously mean stopping Charlton from scoring for the first time in the league. But yeah, we know that we've got the squad to do so, and hopefully they can go and put a real positive stamp. Takeover will be done by then.
It'll be good to see how they bounce back from that 3-0 loss.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right then. Well, thanks again for joining me, Jim. That's it for another week. We'll catch you after the Charlton game. Come on, you Ars!
Nice one, Dan. Speak to you later, mate.